All right. Does this look? See, now I'm having problems with the camera. This is just another insane. Like my camera just stopped working. So I don't think it's going to happen today, folks. I think we're just going to have to redo this. I don't know why my camera just decided to stop working. If I can go here and do this, this. Let's see if that picks it back up again. Bear with me while I go through these technical challenges. Don't know why this is something that all of a sudden just stopped working while it was working 2 seconds ago. All right. So I think what's going to happen is, let me see if I could do this. Maybe, just maybe, you won't get to see my lovely face, and we'll just do desktop mode until my camera decides that it needs to work again. So this is what we're going to do. You're not going to see my pretty little face, and we're going to go right into Reddit. But before we go right into Reddit, I wanted to talk some more about where things are. I plan on going in terms of the show and making sure that there are some opportunities for information that I can share with you, because I think it's important to really make sure that I provide information to you all that is useful and insightful. Right? Let's be realistic here. I want to make sure that everything that I do is useful and insightful, whether you decide to take a journey yourself into the IT ecosphere or do something with technology, whether it be development or things like that. Hopefully, I can provide some insight into your journey into that career. And one of the reasons why I'm going through the Reddit forum IT career questions is because there are a lot of questions that people ask around how to get an IT and things like that. And I find it helpful talking through some of these instead of writing, pages upon pages of information for a Reddit post, because sometimes it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Sometimes it's a little bit more, well, it really depends on what you're doing in your career. And that's really the case. And a lot of this was the idea came from when I was a young boy, a young lad, and listened to terrestrial radio. They had a DJ called radio host called Casey Kasem, and he would he would read questions, and a lot of it was really geared towards song dedications. I'm dedicating this song to someone I lost, a loved one that I lost, a pet that I lost, anything, right? And it was really sentimental and things like that. So I said, you know what? Is there an opportunity here that I can answer some questions live on air? Now, granted, these questions aren't live, but if you look at where I'm doing IT career questions. I'm sorting by new, so they're coming smack out right as they're, if I refresh, something's new, right? So I'm just going right through here. Is this the best format? Maybe if I do best, hot, top, rising, I can change it. But I like to do new because it's brand new. Somebody's asking a question, and it may be something that you all will make sense of or can use for it. So the next episode will be recorded because I will be traveling. So here I go. Third episode into the season, and it's already recorded and not live. But those are sometimes the way the ball bounces because I do have a day job. And look, last week was a nightmare of a show because the audio was shit. You'll see today that, I don't know what's going on with my camera. It decided to just not work anymore. Maybe because it says, you know what, this isn't a career that you should really focus on in terms of streaming. So let's just not do it and not make it something that you can actually do and accomplish effectively. But I'm not going to let that deter me from trying to get my point across. what I wanted to do when I was saying previously is future episodes are really going to incorporate AI into the discussion. And I think it's important for us to bring up AI because it is something that will be here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to replace jobs. It will enhance your career, at least in this era of AI. I'm sure within the next 3 to 5 years, there will be some job replacements. But in the space of tech, I think you'll be fine as long as you get on the bandwagon now. And it's not a fad. Remember, AI's been around forever. Forever it's been around. I remember when I was a kid in high school in the 90s, the early 90s, a friend of mine and I were talking about AI and the future and things like that. So I think we should embrace it. My daughter, my oldest, she's like, I'm scared of AI, bro. I'm like, you shouldn't be scared of AI. You should embrace it and leverage the knowledge that it has. Now, is AI perfect? No. But I think to make your job a little bit more manageable and more efficient, you can leverage AI to make yourself a little bit faster. Especially now that a lot of companies are laying off. You want to make sure that you have that additional value add to your job by embracing AI. If your company doesn't embrace AI at this point, maybe there's an opportunity for you to learn AI so you can incorporate it into your company. Will you maybe incorporate your job to do something else? Maybe, but I think that's the evolution of your career, right? It's something that you should continue to look to improve yourself. That's what this whole show's about. This whole show's about that. I'm giving you the knowledge and the insight on what goes behind the closed doors in an IT world to really help you. Now I'm trying to expand it out into more tech and not IT per se, but it's something that really should be there to help you. So next week will be the continuation of the IT careers question. Maybe I'll go into sysadmin. It all really depends on what flow state I'm in. And then the following week, I'll start my first AI discussion around where I've leveraged AI, what tools I've leveraged within AI to help us out, what I've done in my current role to do just that, right? The added value. And I'll talk about how I'm trying to position my team into something that maybe can benefit the company, again, based on what I see in terms of need. A lot of turmoil, I wouldn't say turmoil, but a lot of disruption in my company based on layoffs and restructuring. There's got to be a restructuring every 6 months. It just has to happen. That's the course of the business at this point. And so I'll get into that some more. And hopefully, again, it will give you some insight into what all people are doing within their career. Maybe there's something that you can help provide insight in, or just give me some of your insights. I'm reachable via TikTok, or I'm reachable via social-media at theitxp.com. I do have Instagram and things like that, but I just don't think it's worthwhile. Or you could just post a question here on the live chat or the comment section and just ask questions away. I've been known to respond to some of those questions. Especially my biggest video is the WGU video, because I guess people were looking for WGU. You can even ask about WGU. So let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about IT career questions. This is the second week I'm doing this. Look, I'm just hitting refresh and going right off the bat. Let's begin. So we have canned_H2O asks, certifications needed for IT and cloud jobs. Hello. I'd like to go back into IT with the goal of eventually working in the cloud sector. I currently hold the equivalent of a minor in software development. I have a diploma of vocational studies in IT support, and I have 8 months of work experience as an intern in tech, 5 months in IT, and 3 months as a web dev. If I were to get a CompTIA A+, would it be enough to land a job? Also, what are the certifications and work experience required in order to be qualified for IT jobs related to cloud? Thanks for y'all's input. Look, Oh, I think we went through this last week. A plus. A plus is not the same A plus that I took back in 2000. It's not. It's not the same A plus. It's a completely different job. Excuse me, completely different certificate. But is it something that you should achieve or obtain, I should say, to get yourself a job? I don't think it's at that level at this point, unfortunately, especially if you're looking to get into the cloud sector. Cloud is all about provisioning via code. You're not going to go click ops. We call it click ops. You're going to do Git ops. So understanding Git, understanding repo management, whether it's in GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. There's a few that come to mind. You have to understand something like Terraform. What's Open Tofu, right? Ansible to some degree, or maybe all three of them. You're going to need to learn those in order to be proficient within the cloud environment. So, what do you need to get yourself get yourself into a cloud job? Learn the DevOps framework or DevOps concepts. You already have a minor in software development. Maybe you're doing that already. Understand infrastructure, cloud infrastructure. Understand how to deploy some of those key infrastructures. Now, if this was 6 years ago, I would say you need to know that a little bit more. But I think now with a lot of serverless functions, that's going, knowing core infrastructure is less and less from my experience. Again, this is from my experience. And so what I would recommend is understanding networking, because you're going to want to build a resilient and scalable architecture, right? Application architecture, or even just understanding how disaster recovery works or business continuity works, how you can ensure that your code will deploy in other regions. Things like that are key. Understanding certificate lifecycle management, understanding certificates at its core, understanding DNS at its core. You'd be surprised by how many people in application development don't understand certificates or don't understand DNS, because honestly, that's not really their goal, right? They're there to build code. So you want to make sure that you have those core concepts and be able to troubleshoot when an app deployment fails. Understand EKS, AKS, GKE. So EKS is Amazon, AKS is Azure, and GKE is Google, all the Kubernetes technologies, right? That would be helpful to you. And there are also, if I were to look at, I think, the Linux Foundation, there are also certifications in these technologies that I would actually probably move you towards, as opposed to the A plus. So if we go into the Linux Foundation, they have the Certified Kubernetes Administrator. That's a good one. You can obviously, if you have Linux experience, you're going to go into that. But the Kubernetes certificate has the administrator, the application developer, and the security specialist certifications. There are networking certifications. Now, these are certifications in a sense that you pass the test, or whatever questions they ask you to get a badge. So it says, hey, I am knowledgeable in this stuff, but it's not really an industry certification in terms of what they consider networking certifications. Even the cloud Kubernetes, I'm not too clear on how. I mean, look, the Linux Foundation is a reputable foundation. Don't get me wrong. So if they have a certification for Kubernetes, I definitely would look into that. Prometheus, they have a Kubernetes bundle, right? Then they also have this cloud native concept, right? Around Kubernetes, and they have things like that. They also have DevOps and site reliability certifications. GitOps Associate is actually a good one. Again, talking about Git and GitOps, that's something that would demonstrate that you have the fundamental knowledge of how to um, leverage GitOps principles in your um, development lifecycle, release lifecycle management, release management um, concepts. So Linux Foundation has a number of courses that you can take to do this. Now, I am a big fan of O'Reilly, so I pay for the O'Reilly platform, learning platform. It's improved since I first joined a few years back. I think it was in 2019, 2020, something like that. And even before then, it was the Safari library. So over the course of, let's say, the last 15, 20 years, at some point in time, I would always have an O'Reilly um, membership. And now, again, with AI or generative AI, I can ask it questions and it can spit back a number of resources for me based on what I'm looking for. And so canned underscore H2O, looking to get into cloud sector, as they call it. Again, look for DevOps, look for GitOps, look for Kubernetes. Those three will get you in the door in terms of certifications, but ultimately you have to demonstrate what you know. You have to demonstrate what you can do in that space. Um, uh, Adrian Cantrell, adriancantrell.io, is who I purchased to pass my to help me practice for my AWS certification. He has a good mindset in terms of showing potential employers what you can do, and it's effectively building out your own little mini company, and he walks you through how to do that. So if you're trying to study for any of the AWS and now even Azure certifications, he and a partner of his, he does AWS and his partner does Azure. They offer various bundles to do that. But my point being is it'll walk you through real world scenarios and building out a company on AWS or Azure, which I think is one of the reasons why it attracted me to that platform, because it was showing real world use cases. And if you can learn how to do that yourself, connecting either AWS or Azure or even Google, connecting it to your GitHub repos, maybe Terraform, all these platforms, apart from the cloud providers, have really low cost to entry. And then with your cloud platform providers, the main thing is understanding cost optimization. Cost optimization. So because you're funding it yourself, you want to make sure that you have budgets and things like that. And I've talked about this before ad nauseum. So if you really want to demonstrate what you know in the cloud, build your own application, deploy it yourself, and see how it works, right? And if you can show that basic concept of how you deploy something in the cloud and add it to your portfolio when you get a job, when you apply to jobs, link your GitHub repo to it and say, hey, this is what I've done, things like that. Now, I'm hesitant to link my GitHub repo because somebody can just go in there and take, right? That's the whole purpose of that. Obviously, you can make things private, but maybe, reference that you have a GitHub repo and you're more than happy to walk through some of your code with the interviewer, things like that. So the number of games you could play that way. But I definitely would not start with A+ if you want to go into cloud. I definitely would start with more the cloud native certifications, AWS Cloud Practitioner, Azure Cloud Fundamentals, and then there's a Google one I can't forget, Cloud Essentials or something like that. But anyway, I would start with those and then pick one and go from there. I would either start with AWS or Azure, or if you're looking to get into the Google space, there's a lot more smaller companies that are Google native. So maybe start with that if you're looking to get into something small and something that folks are really looking to hire. So canned underscore H2O, good luck on your journey. The next one is going to be, I missed a couple here. Moving from software engineering to cybersecurity. Ornery Spread 3102 says, hello, I'm 28 years old, a software engineer from Poland. I have about 5 to 6 years experience in IT, about a year and a half as an intern DevOps. Didn't learn too much from actual DevOps role, to be honest. And the rest as a software engineer. Honestly speaking, I'm not particularly good at any specific niche. I describe myself as a jack of all trades. I used to work in C++, Go, and now as a Java developer. Ugh. I worked in single place for 6 to 20 months. I can't say that I don't like my job, but I feel like there is lack of something to say that I truly enjoyed. Since beginning, I was interested in cybersecurity specialization, but a part of some basics, I don't have any particular skills in that field. Has any of you guys did similar kind of transition and could share your experience? I'd really like to move into pen test red team job. Do you have any advices and or learning resources can be paid to do so? Awesome. Yeah, cybersecurity. Obviously, I think if you have experience in some of the software engineering, app development space, I think application security is probably your next move. And again, in terms of certification, look, certifications are good to show you have compulsory knowledge around um, that specific area, but you really have to do it. You really, really have to do it. Now, cybersecurity is a little bit more challenging because how do you run a pen test, right? How do you run some of those tools, right? SAST, DAST tools against the code when those tools are really expensive. There's obviously open source tools that you can leverage and you can play around with. But realistically, you need to get your hands on a platform that you can use to test. Now, you talked about pen testing a red team. My favorite one, and I've talked about it before, is Over the Wire. Over the Wire is, I think, really well done. Overthewire.org. And they have games, quote unquote, games that you play, and each game gets harder and harder as they go. This is an area that realistically they're not going to hold your hand through this. They're not. And we'll go through some of this real quick. This is truly beginner. Like, you don't know anything about Linux. You better learn in order to get through some of these levels, right? And if I think I'm on level 15 under Bandit right now because I stop and then I go back and things like that. But there are things that you need to learn in order to move through each of these scenarios, right? So there's no level 34. Is there or isn't there? Like those are the things that you need to understand before you move into each of the levels. Remember, cybersecurity is about uncovering what's not there. And you're like, what the hell do you mean? Well, vulnerability management, right? Is something patched? Where are some of the risks in terms of this application? Right? You have to peel back the layers in some of these things, and this is why I like Over the Wire, because right, it really helps you through some of this stuff. And then obviously Bandit's the beginner. Then if you go into Leviathan, it's a little bit more challenging, but this is something, and it's free. It's free. You can go right here and do this now. What I did is because I really enjoyed the site. I actually I worked on this with a former colleague of mine, and she was like, I want to get better at pen testing and things like that. I'm like, hey, let's do some Over the Wire games, right? So what I did was I actually became a patron, right? Every month, $5 goes to this company, to the guy that built this, because I think it's really, really good. Obviously, there are other places out there, Hack the Box and other things like that. But I always tell people, start with Over the Wire, and then you'll find more resources for you to learn. You'll definitely find more resources for you to learn. There's actually a woman, and apologies if I'm dead naming somebody, but I believe it's a woman who built a custom GPT to train folks in various things. The first one I think was coding, and then she just had something new around red team, blue team. So if I find it, I'll put a link to the site on where am I on the description here. But I just wanted to see if I could find it real quick as I'm talking, because it was something that's actually really cool. And I started going through it just to see what it's like, because it's really, really interesting on how they set up the the GPT, the custom GPT. If I do find it, I'll paste it, because it was really, really, it was really fun. I'm actually doing it on one of my other um, accounts, so I can see what they're actually doing. And it was, the first one was Python, and it was like, wow, it really learns and shows you the ways of doing it. The first one is 7 languages in 7 weeks or something like that. So let me see, saying languages in 7 weeks. Let's see if I can do this. It's not pragmatic bookshelf. Let's see. But anyway, yeah. And anyway, I'll find it. I'll put it on the description, and then go from there, right? But it's really cool. And it was something that I felt like, is this it? 7 modern languages and 7? Yeah, this is it. Oh, here it is. So look for 7 modern languages in 7 weeks, and you'll get into the GPT, and I'll link this into the description so that way you have it. But yeah, that's another one. The reason I brought that up is because they also created, that same creator who did this also created a GPT for red teaming and blue teaming. So again, resources that you can leverage to learn these things, and that's all the key. That's all key in terms of getting better at what you're doing. Is just really working through some of this stuff. All right. Especially if you work in the software development space, software engineering space. I would say probably AppSec before Pentest Red Team, because Pentest Red Team you need to know a lot more infrastructure, networking, and things like that. But if you already have experience in C++, Go, and you're a Java developer, go with AppSec. It's a really, really open market at this point for AppSec people. And yeah, so they're there. I'm not going to talk about advice. Okay, any advice? So fickle underscore dot 3930. Any advice on IT advisory for an MSP? Hi all. I've worked at a small MSP for the last 3 years and wear all the hats here. I was offered a job as an IT advisor at one of the largest MSP in US. Now, I'm just reading this verbatim, so if it sounds weird, that's how they typed it. Again, not everybody's language, primary language is English. So, all right. My question is here. Has anyone done IT advisory for an MSP as their main job, and do you like it? As my current job, I do a lot more infrastructure and security build-outs. This new job pays very well and comes with benefits. Some of my concerns are that my end goal is to be in cybersecurity space, and would this hurt my chances? I've have a few certs and a BS degree in cybersecurity, but haven't been able to get a career in it. Would this help my career or hurt it? So, again, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is the next evolution for a traditional IT person. And yes, it's challenging to get into. I've been trying to do it for the past 5 years. Even after my CSSP, it's just challenging because, it's, at least in my current role, it's a little bit more challenging. I think if I were to break off into another role, I think I could do it. But being a director an advisor in an MSP, I don't believe it's going to hurt your chances. I think it, if anything, it may help your chances because it's showing that now you're a more strategic thinker. Because you're not hands on keyboard as much, you just have to think about the risks around the organization, and that's really all it is. It's around the risks for the organization. So you moving up a level, quote unquote, as an IT advisor, may help you think a different way, which is what a cybersecurity person does anyway. So it's not going to hurt you. It's definitely not going to hurt you, especially if you have a degree in cybersecurity. Now, was this person trying to get a cybersecurity role in their current MSP? Probably. But now that you're going to a larger MSP, get your foot in the door as an IT advisor, and then start looking for roles within cybersecurity within that MSP. Once you get into that role, then you can start thinking about what you want to focus on, what you want to learn on, and then go from there. But no, I don't think an IT advisor role at one of the largest MSPs in the U.S. is a downfall, a negative thing. I think if anything, it will help, not hurt your chances for getting into cybersecurity. Next one from Scorpion 1386. How do you go about finding volunteer opportunities for help desk for experience? Paid or unpaid, it doesn't matter much. I am having some difficulty trying to find these free volunteer opportunities for resume building. Indeed hasn't been great for volunteer jobs, and volunteermatch.org only has so much. What would you recommend? I didn't get my A+ yet. So a lot of good responses here that I tend to agree with. Hospitals, college, universities, maybe local government within your community may want to look for somebody. The local 911 center potentially may want to find somebody that's looking to do some volunteer work in help desk or support role. Those are some of the areas that you could look at. Internships are another one. Again, that's more through school, but maybe you can find something. Or create your own business and create your own help desk and go that way to do that. Granted, not volunteer, but you can try that way. But local municipalities, communities, libraries, 911 centers will have opportunities for you potentially. You just got to continue searching and finding the right paths for you. Law firms always looking for help desk people. It's not easy, but if you want to try help desk, try a law firm. They're always looking, always looking. So go to law firm where you're at and see if they want help for help desk or anything like that. All right, good luck, Scorpion 1386. And last one for today. Oh, this one. Okay. Commercial March 7412. How configure LinkedIn job section as POSE? Good evening, everyone. I'm seeking a new job, and instead of just being focused on product owner roles, I would also apply for senior front-end React roles. I'm afraid that if they land on my LinkedIn and they don't saw the same job titles as CV, it would end in no trust. What would you suggest? Now, this is a great question because this person is a product owner, but also wants to be senior front end. Now, the way I'm reading it, that they're actually a senior front end role right now, and they want to move into product ownership role. I would say leverage your senior front end role and reword it to sound more like a product owner. This is why I don't like LinkedIn. And I may actually get rid of my LinkedIn. I may actually get rid of my LinkedIn because LinkedIn, it really boxes you into your role, right? It's like I can't break out of it. Like me, when I was a messaging engineer for 15 years, I was locked into Lotus Domino because that's what was on my CV. And then when LinkedIn came around, thank God I switched to Microsoft. But as soon as I put Lotus Domino, boom, everybody from their mother was saying, "Oh, I have a Lotus Domino job. I have a Lotus Domino job. I have a Lotus Domino job." I'm like, "No, I'm a exchange guy now. I don't want to I don't want to know Lotus Domino, right?" And that's because my career was mostly Lotus Domino. And this is where I find that LinkedIn really locks you in, pigeonholes you, if I may, into kind of that career that you're trying to break out of. One of the things that I always tell people is just apply, not apply, cater your resume to the role that you're trying to apply to. Don't lie, obviously, but you want to make sure that you use the same words for the role that you're going to do. So if you're moving from a senior role to, let's say, an associate director, assistant vice president, a senior manager, let's say, right, a manager role, not an individual contributor type role. You want to put it into words of what your manager does today. And let me repeat that, right? So let's say you're a senior, let's say you're a senior messaging engineer. I don't know, and part of your role is architecting solutions, third level escalations, um, you know, project lead, technical project lead, or something like that, right? That's kind of your role today. But you want to move up into an a management position, right? You can say things like oversaw or not oversaw, reviewed and um, signed off on architecture designs by senior members of the team, right? Presented um, presented new ideas. Again, you can workshop this. Presented new ideas to senior leadership on new project deployment based off of those architecture designs. Oversaw, no, um, you know, compiled metrics, monthly metrics on, you know, incidents, requests, things like that. Improved those numbers by enabling automation or working with automation teams to do things like that, right? So think about what your boss does and just cater your resume to sound like you're in that position, right? You're not lying because you probably are doing some of those things. It's just that your mindset is not in that um, in that role, right? So you just have to switch your mindset. Now, this person wants to focus on product owner roles, but they also want to apply to senior front end React roles, right? This is where I'm like, clean up your LinkedIn, right, and erase everything that you put in there. And I'm actually thinking about doing this. Just get rid of my titles as well. Getting rid of my titles, just be done with it, right? And go from there. You can do maybe individual contributor, manager, right? Individual contributor. Just go that route and see what happens. Because in that way, you're not getting locked into anything. You can write your resume for whatever you want, but at least you're showing your progression into your career, right? That's one of the things that where LinkedIn is horrible at really locking you into things. Sometimes I don't even put my LinkedIn profile on my resume anymore because it's just stupid. It's stupid. I always, if anybody asks, nobody has asked yet. It's like, oh, which this is true. I had a lot of, I've been through a lot of data breaches. My information's out there. I've had concerns around identity theft, which I actually have been dealing with. Right, so it's something that I just choose not to focus on because of the fact that I have this concern around identity theft and just focused on privacy, right? So yeah, I mean, look, it's LinkedIn. It's going to be what it's going to be, but you should always tailor your resume to meet the criteria that folks are asking for, right? And I don't know why my camera doesn't want to work today. So, today you're not going to see the pretty picture of me. I would like to do what I would like to do, but it's going to be loud. Let's see. If I could do this and then go back to no, because it's not going to do that. Never mind. I was gonna say that opening live show starting soon. That beat, I like that beat. That was a nice beat from Udio.com. Is all AI generated. But because my camera decided not to work and I'm going to have to reboot this thing, I'm going to leave you off with this words of wisdom, right? When you're looking to improve yourself, don't focus on all the things you have to do. Focus on the one thing you must do to move forward. Get good at that and then move on to the next thing. Get good at that and move on to the next thing. Get good at that and then move on to the next thing. You'll find very quickly that as you look back, you've already completed about halfway to where you want to be. All right. And I took this from the book Atomic Habits. All right. It's not about changing everything all at once. It's about doing one little change that will make a difference and have a ripple effect on your progression. So take care. Again, next week is going to be a recorded session because I'm be traveling. But other than that, hopefully this will be a live show. Hopefully it'll be a lot better than last week and this week, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And I'll talk to you all later. Take care.